Okay. Okay. All right, Anne, I'm turning it over to you.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anne Jadro-Batiga, and I'm the brand new board president for the project. And it is wonderful to see everyone and your dogs and cats and babies. You know, this is a great evening. We have a lot to share. The one thing that all of us on this call share is that we have a commitment and a love for the work that this project does for our communities. So just as a start, thank you for everything that you as individuals do to support the project. You know, at the heart of the project is our warm liners, and we're going to start with hearing from one of them. So I will have Rose introduce.
Great. Thank you, Anne. All right, so our first speaker tonight is going to be Lori Hendrick, and Lori has been a warm liner with us for, oh shoot, maybe 5 or 6 years now, and she's just a delight. I'll have her introduce herself. I know she looked forward to warm lining, so I'll turn it over to you.
I did very much so. So a little bit about me. I've worked, before I became a warm liner, I worked in the community as a nurse for 40 years. And I worked as a public health nurse and a pediatric nurse practitioner. And in 2003, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And although, you know, I've had a lot of knowledge and resources and huge family support, I also really wanted the extra support and information that the project provides. And for me, it made all the difference. And so always, from 2003 until 5 years ago, I had known that I would at one point get to volunteer and be a warm liner. And so sure enough, I retired, and my family responsibilities allowed me eventually to get to be a warm liner. And it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, I think. And one of those things that I feel like I get as much out of as I give, for sure. So I would tell you that, you know, before COVID, part of what I loved about warm lining is we would sit in the front and we would be the greeters at the project as people came in, and we would get to meet the clients from the first time they came into the clinic. But since COVID, we have not been doing that for several months or longer. We, of course, worked from home, and some of us still do work from home because it works out better for us. But I'm a person who loves to come in because I really enjoy having all the resources, information, and library, not to mention the incredible staff for support. So our now with COVID, probably more than ever, we mostly sometimes rarely get to meet our clients, although I usually try to make a point of getting to, you know, sometimes you have to drop something off, and actually now that things are getting a little better, I'm meeting people outdoors occasionally for coffee so we can visualize who we're talking to. And so a lot of our work really is by phone, and texting too is huge in this day and age, because for a lot of people that, you know, are working or whatever, you know, that's a great form of communication. I miss hearing the inflection in people's voices because it helps me, you know, you can really tell how somebody's doing, I think, when you hear the voice. But anyhow, so I have enjoyed being a warm liner a lot. And I would say some of the challenges are for me, it's always hard when you have a client who unfortunately, is not necessarily doing well. And it's hard, but you're there for them in a different way. And it's an honor to be able to kind of walk with them through the difficult times, as well as through those, times of delights of clear PET scans or whatever. Yeah, and also I would say, especially in this day and age, working with mental health challenges. I mean, I always say we're all on a spectrum somewhere of something, but some people have much more of a challenge than others, and that can be tricky. But I think mostly, what we do is listen and support and provide information and just check in and are happy to be there for people. Yeah. Do you have other questions? Rose, do you want to?
What do you think your absolute favorite part of being a warm liner is?
Well, it does feed you in this. My favorite part is when you feel like you make a difference for somebody else, like the project made a difference for me X number of years ago. Yeah, it's knowing that, that you make a difference for somebody going through a very difficult time, just being there. It doesn't, it's not rocket science. It's just being there for people, and you get a lot out of it, as well as give.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for talking tonight. I know public speaking isn't people's favorite thing to do, but you're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me mute again here.
Any other questions for Lori? Well, thank you, Lori. And, like I said, the warm liners truly are the heart of this organization and what you do for our clients and listening and supporting. And hopefully we'll be able to get back to doing that in person so that you can really have the full impact on our clients' lives. But I know that you and your team continue to do that over the phone. We'll do what we have to do. So thank you. Like I said, this is a group of people that really have a commitment and love for this project. And I think that, well, if we were together, this would be the point where we would say, will you please stand and we'll recognize you. So instead we'll have each of you wave. So first of all, any of the cab members, will you please give us a wave? All right, thank you. And of course, Julie Almanis, Dr. Julie Almanis, which is the founder of the organization. Thank you. And the warm liners, we know there's Lori, some others out there. And the board of directors, give us a wave. Thank you. And any core business partners on? Okay. Well, again, thanks for everyone for being here. Next, I'm going to turn this over to Madeline Amir, and she is going to welcome our next speaker.
Hey, everybody. Well, I have the absolute honor to introduce the next speaker, Debbie Harrison. You may recognize, some of you may recognize her. She's been a local provider in our community for quite a while. She started out working at United Indian Health and was there for about 30 years. She started as a medical assistant and then came back after some training and is a physician's assistant. And so she was there for about 30 years. She's also worked with the Open Door system for about 8 years. And then I had the absolute pleasure to work right alongside with her at Planned Parenthood, the Times 6 Rivers Planned Parenthood. So it's been a lovely, it was lovely working with her for so long, and she is just a well-loved provider in the community. So Debbie contacted us around December of 2020, and then she became a member of our family here at BGHP. She is really active in the Amazon Writers Group and has contributed a couple of absolutely beautiful poems and that have been out on the e-news. And in fact, I have one that is right above my desk that I look at a lot. She's also a supporter or is in our support group and is an active participant and wonderful to have in our breast cancer support group. So without further ado, I give you Debbie Harrison.
Wow, Mads, thanks. What a nice intro. Yeah, I wrote out my whole thing and I hope I don't, I do better than that, but I was like, what do I say and how can I keep it to a minimum and all that. So I, first of all, want to say that as a medical provider in this community for over 30 years, I have always been really grateful that the Breast Health and now Breast GYN project has been available. I have referred people to this group over and over again, and have always, you know, bought tickets and supported them and so on. And I never, ever thought that I, who had no family history of breast cancer and so on, would be availing myself of their resources. And I'm just so glad they're there. So that's my big plug. And I tell everybody that. My breast cancer story is all too familiar. And in many ways, it's rather tame compared to my lesion was found on a routine mammogram in December of 2019, as Madeline said. And I was called back for mammogram, and that got delayed because there was a potential COVID exposure on my end. But by the end of January, I had my biopsy and my diagnosis. I called Madeline almost immediately after that second call back when they did the ultrasound and said, yeah, you need a biopsy. And she was just right. It was great. The anniversary of my partial mastectomy is tomorrow, my first anniversary. And I started chemo in March and finished radiation in August of last year. So I'm so lucky in a lot of ways. I decided to get my screening mammogram, just staying away from hospitals because of COVID. My lesion was 4 millimeters. It was incredibly small, and I have palpated a lot of breasts in my time, and even when I knew where it was, I could not feel it. Sampling was negative. I was estrogen and progesterone sensitive, so I had a lot of stuff in my favor. And I don't mean to normalize my cancer treatment journey, but what I want to talk about is what was difficult and what the Breast GYN Health Project helped me get through, what they offer to our community of cancer patients and survivors. Some are medical providers, and you know that it's difficult on the other end of that stethoscope to walk between that line between I expect myself to be able to treat and to, because I have treated other people, and to give up and allow myself to be the patient. And Mary and Madeline both absolutely were wonderful about making me comfortable, giving me permission, allowing me to ask those quote dumb questions. That was just so invaluable to me. In particular, I want to tell two stories of my cancer journey. After my lumpectomy, the general outlook from my medical team was, you'll just need radiation and hormone, don't need chemotherapy. And then I got the results of a newer test, the Oncotype. And the Oncotype tells you, looks at your genetics on your tumor and tells you what your risk of recurrence is compared to a huge database they have. The cutoff for my age group was 25. My number was 26. So I didn't know what to make of that. They gave me a handout with a couple of graphs on it and supposedly an explanation, which was very obtuse. I had already met with the oncologist, said that that radiation would decrease the risk of my recurrence from 40% to 10%. Wow, that's cool. So how much more is chemotherapy going to buy me if I'm already reduced that? My husband, Greg, he is comfortable working with statistics. I am not. And we were looking at this and trying to figure out how this would work for me and why. And we were completely at a loss. And Madeline said, why don't you have a consult with Mary? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And Mary told me what no one had ever told me. We were dealing with apples and oranges, that the oncotype is about distal recurrence. That the radiation numbers that the oncologist was giving me were about recurrence rates in the breast. And I had no idea of that. And so now I'm going to turn pages here. I'm not reading, that's good. So that helped us to really make sense of this. And Madeline gave me probably the best advice I could have gotten. She said, everyone has their own degree of risk, comfort, and of tolerance of living with risk. And, you know, absolutely was supportive of it's your decision, and that was a great way to look at it. How comfortable am I with this risk? So we looked at the statistics again, and my wonderful husband presented it to me this way. If I did chemotherapy, if I didn't do chemotherapy, the chances of distal recurrence would be 1 in 7. And if I did chemotherapy, it would be 1 in 14. I thought of myself sitting in a room with 7 other people and somebody coming in and just pointing at one of us. And then I thought of myself sitting in a room of 14 people and the same thing happened. And what I realized is I am not very risk tolerant. So I had chemotherapy. And I walked into that decision really, really clear about it and very much at peace about the decision because of the advice they gave me. It just really helped me immensely. So thank you, you guys. My second story is about being in the support group. I joined in the process because I knew I hadn't been journaling for a long time, but in the past when I'd been under a lot of stress, journaling was really a savior for me. And I knew that maybe getting in this group would kind of kickstart that for me. And the people in that group are wonderful. Near the end of radiation, I realized that having gone through 8 months of being medicalized and facing a very, very scary diagnosis of breast cancer, that I was going to come out of this changed. I didn't know in what way. And I felt like I just wanted to be with other people who had been through it, who had walked that same path before me. And so Madeline got me in touch with the breast cancer survivor group, and I joined it. A group of people, very supportive and great. And I'm really glad I joined. So my story about that is that when I was getting chemo, I had a really bad infection in my gums. And then sort of partway through radiation, I noticed I had a cyst on my gum, and it was really weird. I'd never like that. Went to my dentist, and he took an x-ray and he said, oh, it's probably nothing. But I'm going to send you to a specialist, a surgeon who has a much better x-ray machine, and he can get a better look at it and just know for sure it's nothing. And what made me really nervous is he said probably 3 times, I don't think it's anything. It's probably nothing. And I was like, okay. So I couldn't get in that appointment for 3 months, and I just really put it on the back burner. I was working on getting my strength back, and my hair grow back, and I was just kind of getting my life back a little bit. And the day I went in to see the specialist, because of COVID, I couldn't take anybody with me. I went alone. And I woke up that morning, and I was getting ready, and I started feeling really anxious. And I'm a person who loves going to dentists, by the way. I'm one of the weirdos who likes getting my teeth cleaned, and I have great experiences with dentists. And so it wasn't like oh my God, the dentist. It wasn't that at all. I was just feeling really anxious. And by the time I drove in and went in and they took me back, and I was sitting in the dental chair, I was on the verge of a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't believe it. And I knew it was, I could just feel it, that tension and stuff, a little bit of that right now. And I was and do breathing exercises so I could just try to rein it in. I've never had that happen to me before. And I remember telling him, he took the picture and he said, this doesn't look like any big deal. I can't tell what it is, but it doesn't look like a cyst. And he had to bring out another picture of a cyst, and I kept really pushing him. And I finally said, I need you to tell me when I wake up in the middle of the night that this is not cancer, because I realized that I knew for sure I had a static lesion in my jaw. I just knew it. And he said, what did he say? He said, it doesn't look like it. And he had me come back in a few months and did another x-ray, and he said, really, this is nothing. So that's what came of that. But the experience of that panic attack made me realize just how emotionally fragile I was. So it happened, the very next support group, the first 2 or 3 people who talked were talking about having their repeat mammograms and how really nervous and scary that was for them. And, and it was like 3 people in a row. And I'm just thinking, oh, I'm just like everyone else here. This is kind of normal. We discussed over time how those scary things get better, but that it's always kind of there, and ways to deal with it and all that stuff. But it was just so reassuring to just hear that story from other people. I read an article, and I've said it a couple of times during the support group, that I read this in the New York Times, up to 80% of people with breast cancer have some form of PTSD, and I certainly believe it. So being in that support group normalized my experience. I was forewarned about the possibility when I went in for my first post-diagnosis mammogram, and I went through it just fine. I mean, just having that story from the other people going, okay, go in ready, because this is a big trigger. And it was easy, actually. I mean, to get the exam, obviously. I had to go to the hospital today, and I felt this rise in my anxiety again, but I recognized it for what it was. It's just my 1-year anniversary. I'm having a little flashback here, but I'm fine, I'm okay. And I realized how much I've come to rely on those shared stories. It's a tribe of survivors that I have joined. And Mary and Madeline guide and support us, and they're so wonderful. I can't imagine how much more difficult my journey would have been without them. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. All right.
I didn't even mention my cat.
Oh.
My cat ran away and lived on the porch of the Breast Health Project, and that's where we got her. So that was kind of a neat connection.
They named her Audi, and she loves her new house, and she can hunt. Thank you, Debbie. All right, so now I get to I am going to try to share some PowerPoints with you guys, and I'm going to show you lots of faces and say lots of names, and it'll be hopefully it'll be fun. So from the beginning here. Okay, there we go. So there's our new logo for our 25th anniversary. So welcome, you guys. Oops, I skipped ahead. I way skipped ahead. And now I'm going backwards. Oh, stop share. I got to fix this. It's always a boondoggle when I do this. Oh, geez. Okay. Share. Oh, I'm at the back, and now you're getting a preview of it all. Okay, so next. So this is our client services team. They got to get together last summer and see one another. So I realized that I think our community advisory board likes to see who's on staff right now and who's still on staff and who are our warm liners. So I thought I would go through and just from left to right. So you just met Madeline, Madeline is, so she's our co-client services director. This is her, our 25th year is Madeline's 7th year as the co-client services director, and she was a volunteer for 2 years before that. And then behind her is Dr. Mary Mengs, our medical consultant, and Mary is in her 12th year with us. In front of her in the kind of purple is Eileen Poindexter. She's a warm liner and it's her 7th year. Behind her is Felicia Oldfather. This is her 11th year as a warm liner. In front of her is Margie Nelson, and this is Margie's 8th year as a warm liner, and she was a warm liner in the early years. And behind her is Lori Hendrick, and you just met Lori. Lori's in her 5th year as a warm liner, and she was a warm liner at our Fortuna site before that. And then next to her in the kind of peach color is Chris Angel, and Chris is our longest serving warm liner. She's been with us 17 years already. And next to her is Brenda Elvine Price. Brenda is our co-client services director. This is her 12th year with us. And next to her on the far right is Beryl Feldman. And Beryl, this is Beryl's 11th year with us. Not pictured here is Melinda Wilson. Melinda, this is her 3rd year as a warm liner. She's gardening with us. She was on the board of directors for 7 years, and she was a founding mother in the early years, 25 years ago. And then also not pictured is Brenda Garcia, and Brenda was a warm liner with us for 3 years, and she has been running our Spanish speaking support group on Facebook for the last year. She's now turning it over to Sandy Garcia, who has been with us a month, and Sandy is our first full-time Latina navigator. So we're super excited to have her here. And I have more people who are part of our team. So Barb Sage is on our call tonight. Barb is she's our office manager, and this is her 17th year with us. I've been on staff 14 years, and I was on the board for 3 years before that. Bree D'Souza is on the call with us. This is her 2nd year with us. She puts out the e-news. She's in charge of our social media. The beautiful communications that you've been seeing coming out are thanks to Bree. She also automated our reminders about our support group, so the staff aren't having to do that. Everything's automated. So it's nice to have a young person with those kind of talents helping us do good easier. Also on our team, our peer support leaders is how I'm going to call them. So Sue Lee Mossman has been co-facilitating the advanced disease support group. She's been our information specialist. She's been a volunteer for, she wasn't even sure, 23 or 24 years. And then Jennifer Hildreth has been our writers group volunteer facilitator for 5 years. Terry Bean has been volunteering with us for 6 years. She was on our board of directors. She was a warm liner, and she facilitates the mindfulness meditation group, and that group met today. We also have our lymphoma and blood cancers group that we host, and Carolyn Lehman has been volunteering with the project. I had fun looking up all these numbers. She's been with us for 17 years. And she co-facilitates with Amanda Devens. That group has been running for 5 years, and they just recruited a brand new co-facilitator, Sally Coyne. So we're lucky to have so much talent and depth working with us. So I wanted to show you some client services numbers. I need to pull this picture up here just kind of quickly. So I have the data from pre-COVID, so 2019 through last year. So pre-COVID, if you look at the first line, new clients, we saw 133 new clients in 2019. Then COVID hit and our numbers dropped to new clients, 89 that year. And you can see how we're starting to climb up to pre-COVID levels, 119 new clients last year. Then you pop down to the bottom, two rows. So total unique number of clients served pre-COVID. So 2019, 368, then it dropped to 314, has been climbing back up to pre-COVID levels, 344 people. But you'll see our total contacts have been going up. So we're doing a really good job of staying in touch with people and providing services to people. Great job to our team. And then we have amazing numbers of COVID volunteers during COVID, 177 volunteers, over 4,500 hours last year. Amazing. And then last year was a pretty financially stable year for the project. We were really lucky that Gary Ogle was our board president, and he works for Aflac and gets all kinds of information. And he was aware of the federal loans and grants that were coming out, as well as the state COVID-related grants. So he helped us kind of keep an eye out for those. So we were able to get those big grants the last 2 years. And we've gotten grants from the National Breast Cancer Foundation to help cover client services staff part of their salary. So that was a huge help. The vacation raffle was hugely successful the last 2 years, over $100,000 the last 2 years. And that's 100% thanks to each of you for buying tickets, selling tickets, donating destinations, everything that you do. Thank you so much. We also have been working on our monthly giving program. We have about 50 people who give monthly now. A lot of you are on the call, so thank you for donating monthly. And if you've been a board member and you've been with me on this journey, we've been doing a major donor program for, I think, like 17 years now. And so we write thank you letters to people. I call it writing love notes to people, our most invested donors. And the last 2 years, actually, that group of about 500 people also donated over $100,000. So we're so fortunate to have individuals who are wonderful and generous supporters. And then last year, we started a new initiative called the Core Business Partners Initiative, where we asked businesses who were longtime supporters, often sponsors of like the vacation raffle or the fall concert, asked them if they would consider donating at a higher level in exchange for us not asking them multiple times during the year if they would be a sponsor, in exchange for giving them year-long publicity, doing things like inviting them to the CAB meeting. So we have 11 businesses that have joined so far. So that's a really great start for our first year. And we're just so lucky to have lots and lots of business supporters for Sales for Survivors. Last year, I think Sales for Survivors topped 23,000 during a COVID year when people are really stretched. We're so grateful. And we have lots of underwriters for raffle, for the newsletter. So I just am so grateful for people being so supportive of the community. All right, now I'm switching gears. So we have volunteer board members, and actually Jeannie Brady, who's on the call, she's a board member who has been leading the charge for the 25th anniversary since early last year. We looked at the 25th anniversary in different pockets. So we said, what we want to do activities that support clients. So for 25th anniversary, Julie Onimus is going to be doing a face-to-face in April. We're working with our neighbor Foodwise Kitchen and Rochelle, who's the owner and chef there, to do some videos on nutritious recipes and cooking. And then we're hoping that a local grocery store might be willing to package the ingredients for the classes that she's doing. So keep your eye out for that. It should be fun. She's so enthusiastic. It'll be fun to watch. We are also working on some movement and exercise classes. We're planning on these being in person, so they're probably going to be small. So more to come on that. For our 20th anniversary, we did thank you boxes to provider offices, and we decided that we wanted to do that again. So we have a committee that's working on those provider gratitude boxes, and those will be delivered to provider offices in April with our anniversary newsletter. And those will be going out to offices between Southern Humboldt and Smith River, and then east. So we have about 70 businesses, 70 medical offices that we will be giving boxes to. And then there's you guys and our circle of more intimate circle of supporters. There are about 3,500 people on our mailing list that will be invited to this circle. We only have 150 slots. So we're going to be asking people to RSVP, and it's going to be really fun. It'll be on Saturday, July 23rd at the Unitarian Fellowship. We're going to have music. Brett Schiller is going to be catering it. It'll be a really good time. A lot of it will be outdoors. So hopefully it'll be a nice day. So we hope you can come. You'll see people that you know, and it'll be a lot of fun. And then we realized that we wanted to also do something with the greater or for the greater community. So we have a very ambitious and talented 25th anniversary media committee who has a plan for monthly community health education messages that we're getting out, and messages about our services. So tomorrow night launches Mary Meng's How to Be Your Own Best Medical Advocate live streamed video. So if you get the e-news or you're on social media, you'll see advertising for that launch tomorrow night. And then we decided that we really wanted swag. We wanted commemorative swag. So we're doing bamboo utensils with logos in a cloth bag. We're doing some ankle socks. There's a little picture of the ankle socks. Barb designed those. We've placed that order already. So those socks should be coming in probably in about 2 months. It's taking about 8 weeks. We're getting baseball caps for the, and then for the Atalanta Victory Walk and Run, the Six Rivers Mother's Day Run, we're creating running bibs where people can write, I race for, in honor of, or in memory of, and walk or run with those special bibs. We're designing t-shirts and masks and shopping totes too. So it should be really fun. Some of those will be giveaways. Some of them will be sold on Etsy. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you all for being part of the project, helping us get to this 25th anniversary. I'm going to stop share. Okay, back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Rose. It's so heartwarming to see the impact of what this organization has had on our community. And thank you and your staff for all the hours that you put in. And really, thank you, Rose, for your years of dedication and guidance, for the staff, for the board, for me, and for pretty much anyone that has any kind of question regarding the project. We all know that Rose is our go-to person and has so much knowledge and compassion for this group. We're lucky to have you. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
As Rose was saying, this is our 25th year. And so there's a lot of really good energy behind celebrating that in our community and really reaching out and giving a thank you to those that have helped us get to this 25th year. So kind of stay tuned for some good things to come. It'll be an exciting time. And I hope that you're all a part of it. So with that, that pretty much concludes our program, but we do have time. So if there's anybody that has any questions or comments, please unmute yourself and speak up.
I just wanted to thank Debbie for sharing your story. It was really powerful and nice to hear.
Yes. Anyone else? Then yes, I agree. Anyone else?
Well, I would just say that, and I think Melinda would agree with me, when we sat down 25 years ago, we never imagined we'd be here 25 years later. It was just like living in the present moment, but it so speaks to all of you and the dedication and just the passion that you have for helping the women and men and families in our community. And many, many thanks. There's not enough words to express from certainly my heart in terms of what you've all offered and have carried forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then with that, thank you all. Thanks for attending. Stay tuned for some really good things happening this year. And we, as always, appreciate your dedication and commitment to the project. So thank you. And board members, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.